Hello.
Hi there.
All right.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hope so. Okay, so as promised, we're gonna have the talk today about beyond the buzz. We're gonna debunk AI mysteries and actually will explain how we see benefits of using AI in everyday life. And yeah, I guess like we'll do a quick introduction. Do you want to go first, Orell?
Sure. I'm a software engineer and data engineer sometimes, depending on kind of what people consider data engineering to be. And I kind of work with like data systems, sometimes use AI, but I'm not too much into the game. But I'm trying to help my clients to kind of find out where AI can make sense and where it doesn't. Yeah. How about you, Julian?
Yeah, honestly, I really need to comment on this because I think you're actually sitting at the place before AI actually happens, because data is the driver of all of this technology. So I think you actually have some really valuable insights there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. For myself, I'm a freelance software engineer. Right now, I'm running myself as an AI engineer because I'm really believing in the AI hype, and I'm actively using it myself every day. And I guess like I'm sitting on the other end, saying, okay, look, guys, this is the cool things that you can do with it. Also viewing it with a very critical lens, because obviously like you don't want to sell rubbish to your clients. You really want to deliver value. And this is why I find today's talk also really interesting, because we can actually talk about our own experiences and see what kind of real value we can bring to the world with this.
Yeah, I think
So
our experiences actually complement each other. Like maybe I have more software engineering expertise, and you have more like AI finding use cases and doing stuff with AI kind of work. So probably a good way to talk about it.
yeah, I guess like I want to start with this one question, asking you what kind of AI tools are you using nowadays, and where can you see real value that it brings to you?
I'm not using too many. I usually use these like chat interfaces for different LLMs. I'm now using Kagi. It's like a search engine with AI features, and they
Hmm.
have like API connections to all the big vendors. And for like $25 a month, you get access to all of them, and you just can use kind of whatever you want and kind of also see what works better in which cases, for example. But most of the time I use ChatGPT, to be honest. It's kind of like first mover in the field and kind
Yeah.
of stuck with that. But also tried Mistral, which is really fast. Like the answers they provide are like super quick. Claude is very good for coding, I feel like. I tried to integrate like Copilot or like these Copilot-like systems in my VS Code workflow, but for some reason, like the API keys didn't work. It told me I had no like credits, although I just had bought some credits. So I'm not quite sure what the problem's there, and I didn't have time to like investigate further. And yeah, sometimes or most of the time actually, like putting client code in or my customer's code into a like LLM is kind of like a no in most situations. So kind of very careful about that.
Okay. Could you tell me why you're very careful about this?
The code is usually IP of the company. So even though I code it, it's still like IP of my client's code base. It doesn't belong
Hmm.
to me; it belongs to the client. And sometimes they actively like forbid using these or like putting it into these systems.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's more of a policy or some like unspoken like rule kind of thing, and I don't want to be leaking IP to someone and then having like legal issues with that. So I'm very careful about that. But this is more like a legal problem, not a technical problem, I'd say. So
Yeah.
therefore, I don't put code in there. I use it as a kind of like a rubber duck. I just ask questions about like, okay, I have this problem. I kind of abstract away the details, and then I'm like, okay, I have an idea how to solve it, I usually don't tell the system, and then I'm kind of checking if the system has the same idea or has like a slightly different touch to it and stuff like that. So works quite well for me in like ideation and kind of like checking my own thoughts. So it's more like a talking partner, not so much a intelligent system in that way. How about you? Like, how do you use that?
Yeah, various places, to be honest. I'm just gonna like list down all the different aspects where I feel it's benefiting me. One of them is content creation. Definitely also rubber ducking my ideas, but not only on coding, but also on all the other aspects as a business person, which is like, how do I best sell my services? Who should I ask? How should I position myself? Could you draft me an email or something like that, right?
Yeah.
The use cases are quite broad there. I am playing with voice agents a lot because I'm really fascinated in this technology. And presentation tools. So okay, that's also content creation. So yeah, and I'm also trying.
Yeah, sometimes I also use it for content or like other business aspects, just kind of reframing what I kind of think about and get new ideas about how to like frame myself, position myself. And then I usually don't just take it one to one and put it somewhere. I usually give it my own touch again, kind of iterate through it. So that kind of works well.
Yeah. Are you using, when you're saying like you iterate, are you using reasoning models, or are you just like getting something and then tweaking it, bring it back to the language model and then tweaking it again?
It's more like the last
Last
one you
touch.
described, yeah. But sometimes I also use reasoning models. Kind of depends. I kind of play around with that, experiment, and kind of go with what feels best in the situation. I feel like things are changing like day by day, and it's quite hard to actually like find a set of rules when it makes sense and when it doesn't make sense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That is kind of a problem. Like, I don't know, I saw a meme a couple of days or a couple of weeks ago where it's like AI engineering, like you're like super old within like a couple of days because it's so stressful to keep up. And I feel like there's a true touch to that.
Yeah, honestly, I can. Man. I mean, I've been basically introducing myself as an AI engineer, and I feel like there's a little bit of PTSD emerging when you're saying this there. The truth is, you actually have to keep up with this a lot, but you have to choose your niche. That's the thing. You cannot be an expert in all domains, and so many tools are developed, and tools are like being also further developed in this space. Just to like mention one niche, right? There's a lot of stuff happening in video creation.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you are a video maker, then this is really cool for you, and you obviously want to keep up with this. As a software engineer, this is kind of a byproduct of my business, so I'm not really aware of like what is happening on the forefront there. And in terms of video editing, in terms of pure video creation, I heard from a guy the other day that he is making videos for some museums in the Middle East and is making millions by it, and it's all AI generated. I'm like, okay, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's that could potentially make money there. But yeah, so you really got to pick your niche and then see how you can work with it, because again, we have potential, but also the bottlenecks there, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is kind of understanding how to like prompt for what you need, and then the more like complex the problems are, and it's like video editing or video creation, I imagine you have to do a lot of like system kind of prompting where you tell the AI system what the general look is supposed to be like, and then like the storyline, and so you have to like build it over time. And I guess that's a skill too. So there's no problem with that. But for me, like keeping up with that takes too much time. I'm not a videographer or like someone who's like super deep into that and has a lot of technical knowledge. So I guess I can make something that kind of works, but also probably nothing that would sell very well. Because I think the same for coding. You still need these like fundamentals to make it work in the long run. You need to understand what's happening, how people, like for videos, I assume you need to understand how people work, kind of like how they consume the video, what you want them to get from the video, and then have to work around that. I don't think the AI is there yet where it can take over that part.
That's true.
Because
you mentioned
it's
a
also
good
a lot
point.
of experience in many ways.
That's true. I would like to navigate this to our main profession, which is coding, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about complexity here, right? And I think this is a really important aspect in all of this. So you said that you're using AI to bounce ideas, but you're not letting it touch your code base for legal reasons.
Yeah.
I would still ask you if you'd use copilots to build anything in that regard, like if it's not legally limited.
Yeah. I like tried it, but I haven't like had much success so far. But maybe that is due to my like domain I'm working in, or my the code that already exists. Sometimes I feel like the more idiomatic your code is, or the more idioms the language has, the better it like can solve the problems. But with like my tech stack is usually Python, C++, these kind of languages, and there's like thousands of ways to do things, especially in C or C++. There's no like idiomatic way to solve a problem, and therefore it's kind of all over the place. And at the end of the day, I still have to check what it's doing. I still have to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful for me if it generates 1,000 lines of code, even 100 lines of code, or like I still have to check that. I have to understand what's happening. And like traditional software engineering, when you get a like pull request that has like 10 lines, you're checking it thoroughly because you can actually like the scope is so small. And then if you get 1,000 lines, you're just, okay, it's approved.
Right. Yes.
Like that's what happens most of the time. So that's also what happens with these LLMs, I think. And that's kind of dangerous.
Very true. Claude 4 came out a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, and you see a lot of LinkedIn posts that are very diverse about their opinion with Claude. Like there's these prompters that are super happy that they can just like build apps in no time, and Claude is understanding all the context and knows exactly what you want, and they're making money with it. Great thing. But then there's also these people that say, I got 10,000 lines written in a few minutes, but also now years I need to take to debug all that stuff. This is essentially the nature of it, right?
Yeah, I saw someone that had, like posting, and it was something along the lines like Claude created like thousands of lines of code. It was beautiful, but it didn't work.
I saw the same post. Yeah,
I think that is kind of like what happens most of the time. You only hear from people who were able to like build an app quickly. They may have had domain knowledge that they knew like how to prompt it or how to formulate requirements, for example. So it makes sense. And even then, it's very hard to tell if they have like if the app is actually working like in the long term, or if that is just like, okay, I have like my first version and now I want to change things because my users request some feature I don't know how to implement because I can't code, because I wiped the whole thing. And then how do I tell like Claude or whatever system to add this and to make it still work? Like maybe something else breaks in the process and you have no idea that it even broke, because obviously you don't have tests, because who needs tests?
Right.
That's kind of, I mean, sure, I think it can help, and it does help in many places. It makes people more efficient and sometimes probably more effective too. But you still have to be very careful about what you're doing, because I feel the hard part is having a good process in place. It doesn't matter if you do it manually or having a LLM generate code or still need some kind of quality checks, testing, development environment, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I would definitely like to dive a bit more in detail on this. I would like to follow up on one aspect first, like how I would use agents in or like
Yeah,
assistants in coding myself. So what I like to do, and this is actually super true to the thing, or like it's really relatable to the thing that you just mentioned. I like to vibe myself through front end apps a lot right now,
yeah,
because there's a lot of amazing tools right now that do the job for you. And just to name drop a few, there's Tempo Labs and V0, and I think there's also a bunch. Oh yeah, Builder.io, which have a graphical interface next to them, so you actually see how the code translates into the design
yeah,
later on, which is super helpful, right? The code itself is, I mean, from what I know as a front end developer, decent.
yeah,
Sometimes a little bit too overblown. So I wouldn't write things in the same way that the agent does, obviously. But I just leave it at that, right? It works, so yeah, I'm not questioning it. Um, when it comes to the point when I actually have to debug stuff, things get complicated. And we have this famous moment when an AI is able to build multiple components for you. It translates super well into the whole functionality. And then there's this one thing that gets stuck at and is not able
yeah,
to resolve, like simple things like, I don't know, centering a diff or something. I'm exaggerating here,
yeah,
but you know what I mean.
yeah,
And this is where I think it gets dangerous, because you do need to know your code. There's code ownership, right? And
yeah.
when things like break and you need to fix it yourself and you have no idea what you're looking at, that will take a very long time to debug. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That is kind of forgot what I wanted to like say, but you still have to like you can do prototyping, for example, like super quickly with that. But once it like gets more complicated, or once the LLM is also confused, like once it's in a like dead end, it's so hard to get it out of there. Usually, what I do is just start a new chat because it's impossible to like get it out of its dead end once it's in there. And it might be different with like agents and like more complex setups, but in like the simple way of using it, it's basically once it's confused about something, it's impossible to ever get it back on track. So you have to start from scratch again.
I
My
think what you
experience, at least.
yeah. I think what you're doing there is kind of like what everyone would agree to.
Yeah,
The LLM, we all know it, right? It's a um, context analyzing algorithm that is what is that, predicting what's coming next, right? And it does look at the past chats,
yeah.
trying to understand what could be the next best move, right? If you're starting a new session, it has not so much context from previous conversations, and I think this is the element that will get it confused at some point, right?
Yeah, but starting a new chat is what kind of solves the problem for me.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess when you realize that it's confused, you probably I haven't tried that, but it would be an interesting experiment. Tell it to like forget the last two messages, and then ask it again. That could be something that actually would like could work, but you have to realize early enough that this like that it is confused, and that sometimes it's hard to tell because sometimes it gives you an answer and it's like, okay, this is like 80% there, but we have like obviously some things are not working the way they should, and
Yep.
then I'm trying to steer it into the direction because obviously I don't want to think anymore, and just kidding, I still want to think, but you tend to like steer it into the right direction because maybe you have follow-up questions and then you have to kind of get it to where you want it to be. So telling it to forget the last two questions you asked or the last two messages might be actually useful.
hmm
I will try that. I have to get it confused first, but that should be possible.
Yeah, sounds like an interesting thing to try on. Well, I'm wondering if like other people who are watching the stream right now have tried that out before. It would be interesting to hear opinions about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if anyone
I
is watching. Is there anyone else out there?
I don't know
It's
actually.
impossible to tell. It's impossible to tell. So no idea.
Never mind. I noted down one question I would like to ask you right
Yeah.
now. AI will reach superhuman intelligence. Do you think that's possible or not?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what you consider intelligence, what you consider superhuman intelligence. But like for me, how it works right now is that it's not even creative in that sense. It's just like it consumed basically all the knowledge out there.
Yeah.
And is trying to like guess the next words depending on what it already has, kind of on the context. So if you tell it to do something that is like there is no picture of or something like that, it's impossible for it to draw it. Like tell it to draw a glass of wine that is more than full. It can't do it. Like you can tell it like multiple times, and it's like, oh yeah, that is not more than full, and then it's just going to draw one again where it's not even full. Or the wine is next to the glass, but it's not in the glass, or something like that. So it does not have any idea what you're even talking about.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem is with all the AI content out there, we're just getting worse because the training data will become worse. Like it's being it's basically now you have AI being trained on AI content from like half a year ago. Same with code. And if you have 0.99 to the power of n, for n to infinity, it becomes 0. Like there's no, like it can't gain anymore because there's no original knowledge being like shared anymore. Or at least the amount of original knowledge is so small that there's nothing new to be gained.
I really don't want to fight you on this because you're the data engineer here. I listened to this one presentation of a professor at Zurich, and can't mention his name right now because I forgot. But he mentioned that training on synthetic data turned out to be something successful, actually, which was to the surprise of like all the stakeholders of the big AI companies. I wonder where this is heading, though. It could be a temporary win. If the like overarching majority of the data is synthetic, like you would like state here, maybe the results will be different.
Yeah, it also depends on what you like call synthetic data. Sometimes this is just like created by heuristics. Sometimes it's created by simulations. Sometimes by other LLMs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can help to make certain like use cases more robust because it basically generates combinations of all the like knowledge already out there, kind of. But at the end, I think there are studies that already show that like, the quality of content or answers given by LLMs is already decreasing again.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I think there are like concurrent or like views that are not like compatible. Kind of, everyone is trying to position themselves as AI
As
is
an
going to
expert.
kill us all, and AI is going to solve all our problems, kind of, and all the spectrum in between. So it's always good to take that with a grain of salt. But in general, it's hard to see how text generation, for example, can get better if all I do when I look for something is I get pages of the top 10 whatever I search for in 2024 and 2025, because that's apparently what LLMs do. Like all this all AI slop. there's no like new information. It's all the same. I actually switched search engines for better results because I was so tired of getting these AI slop content.
Which search engine are you using right now?
Kagi, Kagi.
You mentioned it at the start. Okay. Yeah.
And they also have LLM integration, so they're not. It's not like I'm anti LLM or something. It's just when I do search for something, I want to get results that are meaningful. And sometimes I can't even get to a like you're looking for something and you can't even get to the documentation because first you get like the top 10 alternatives to Calendly or whatever you look for in 2024 and 2025 and in September and in November. It's like so much content. It's all the same, basically. It's all like obviously AI generated, but there's just like, it doesn't like this, it has no value basically. It's just generating value through ad placement on these websites.
I would like to talk about reasoning models. Since we were talking about like the quality of data and the performance of LLM being influenced by it, just to like give a little outline of what reasoning models actually do. They are using a method called chain of thoughts, which is inspired by what is that? Markov decision processes. So there's a chain of different processes that are, coming one after another, and one process basically reviewing the previous one and is iterating on that, right? So this is how we have the potential to go through more complex tasks that are giving you more stable results instead of just outputting gibberish on the next predicted tokens, right? Is at least the promise that it makes, right? Here's some post that I saw recently that I think is quite important for the current state of the art of the models. Reasoning models seem to have been the favorite child of AI companies. They are still not performative in a way that they can really reason themselves through a result that is very accurate at the end. I don't really know the exact number of accuracy, but it's not even reaching 90%, right? And instead, what AI engineers are seeming to gravitate to is more of an individual breakdown, like small tasks that have individual tasks and then chaining them together themselves, which is not reasoning at all. It's basically small LLMs that are specifically designed for a specific task, and then forwarding the results to the next one. Question now is, in terms of data, since these reasoning models are built on reinforcement learning, which is a methodology that is not purely relying on data, but on making your own decisions from scratch. Do you think there is some sort of a potential that we could have more advanced models in the future with this method?
I have no idea, to be honest. That's very, very hard to answer. I'm not too like deep into the like more like technical details of AI, like how these different models work. I think having some kind of reinforcement is certainly helping the overall like quality, but I'm not sure how it translates to having better answers at the end of the day. And even then, like you still need some kind of, it's still not creative. It's only kind of still knowing what it has done before. And what I find very hard is to actually judge if the result is gibberish or not. I mean, for code, it kind of works for me because I know like usually kind of what I expect. And I think I can code well enough to like spot at least like the most obvious mistakes. Sure, if there's some memory leak introduced somewhere by using something in a like slightly wrong way, like that can go through the cracks. Like it's almost impossible to catch that. That could happen to like all the human developers too. So there's no difference there. But with normal text or doing more research kind of tasks with LLMs, I can't tell if it's actually telling me the right thing or if it's just made up something, because I'm not an expert in the field I'm researching, obviously. And what helps there is like these sources that are now sometimes put onto the results where you can at least like double check. And more often than not, you find out that, okay, this is like kind of in the source, but it's not exactly what's like summarized there. And in a way, like reinforcement, like how do I tell that it's like messed up at that specific place? I don't even think that's possible with the normal systems. you probably have to do this in training, I guess, like in the initial training, but you would still need experts kind of to find these like small mistakes. There's like, it's not completely wrong, but it's not really correct either. I'm not sure how that works. Maybe you have more insight there.
Yeah, actually, no.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, these are like very complicated topics. People are spending a lot of time on these very small details to make them better. So would be kind of funny if we had now all the answers to these questions.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to see how, I mean, like you said, all of this is changing so rapidly. So having a checkpoint today and maybe seeing how things are going in 1 year will be quite interesting. Maybe we'll also have like some sort of new type of algorithm that will be developed, and then all the things will just look way more stable, way more predictable. But yeah, as of now, I guess like that's the consensus. We need to break down things to very, very small tasks in order to get real value from it. And when it reaches a certain level of complexity, things will just become very chaotic.
Yeah, that's why also I'm in favor of just looking at the like entire process. Like usually you want to automate something in like some process, and I would just try to break down the process you're following right now into like different steps and think, okay, this is where AI could potentially help me, and then see if that actually is true. And then you can do the process manually. And for example, like content creation, you first need a story, and then you kind of tell the LLM, okay, this is the story. Generate me like a picture that I can put on my LinkedIn post for that. That's like the first small step. And second step might be, okay, I'm giving it a rough outline of the story. It should like fine tune, maybe make it more engaging, edit a few dark patterns or whatever you want to do. So this is something you have to also try out and see where it goes, and then you can automate more. Just saying, okay, create me a LinkedIn post about topic XYZ, like some topic. It's probably not going to give you a good results there. I think that's also true for coding. I only generate like small functions or very like small pieces of code, and then I'm like, okay, I can check this and I can put it into my code, modify it to work for my code. I'm not telling it, okay, well, I need this application which makes me a lot of money. Please do something. It doesn't matter what it does, just make me money. That doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't work, but that's kind of the approach a lot of people, a lot of companies take. I feel like in an abstract way, at least.
Please help! I need to pay my mortgage.
Yeah, kind of like that. Like these extremely complex tasks that are not even clear what the different steps are and how you would do them yourself. So
yeah,
I don't think that's a good approach.
I have one last question that I want to discuss with you, a very light one of the deep technical buzz. I would like to know from you, wait, what is this thing called? There's this trend line that is describing the hype of a technology. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Gartner hype cycle?
Gartner hype cycle, yes. Where do you think we are right now in the AI era?
I think we are not even at peak hype, probably.
We're not at peak hype yet.
No, it doesn't feel like it. It gets more hyped every day. I think we have seen some disappointment already.
Yes.
It's also very hard to judge because kind of like if you're on LinkedIn, everyone is just jumping on like the latest bandwagon, and it doesn't matter like how far along we are. But I think we are just kind of approaching peak hype. Always, it's easy to tell in hindsight. It's hard to tell when you're in the process. But I feel like we're still like people are still believing that this is going to make everything better, and it's like revolutionizing their industry, their company. They can get rid of all their developers because now they can just prompt the AI system. And that this like hype. And then they will realize it's not as easy. They still have to do some things, and sure, maybe we don't need 100 developers anymore. Maybe 20 or 25, 30 can do the work. but we still need them in some way. I mean, we obviously don't need as many people anymore for writing a piece of software compared to when they like had to punch in like assembler code, you know. I mean, obviously, probably we need more people because even like everything has become more complex, but it's hard to like separate. So I don't think that is gonna be the case. But yeah, the more they try to implement, the more of these implementations fail for whatever reason, the more we will come to the disappointment phase, and then we'll probably have some ideas of what we want to or can achieve, what is reasonable, what is also efficient, like cost efficient enough. You know, sure, you can probably solve a lot of problems with AI, but if a little like Python script, if then else, also solves the problems, it's much cheaper. So
That is true.
so that is also something to consider, and different niches are at different stages, I think. Like computer vision, for example, is like super far. It's like in production in many companies. Video generation is probably only very few companies who actively use it, and they're still figuring things out too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned a good point. AI is such a like big word that
Yeah.
means so many different things. Yeah. I guess what I wanted to ask is where do you think we are in terms of agentic AI solutions that are mostly driven by LLMs? But I think you already stated your answer with saying we are not even reaching peak at this moment yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to a couple of people recently about that, and they're all like in that space, and they're like, okay, I would like to implement agentic AI systems for my customers. When you like dig down deep enough, what their problems actually are, if else, most of the time solves the problem. Sometimes a bit more, you need some more complexity, but you don't need agents. So that is something I think that is close to reality. So I think there's a big gap between what people promise, what the hype is about, and what's happening in practice. Even though I'm sure some companies use agents successfully, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we would also have to see how that really looks under the hood.
Yeah.
But for sure, there's a lot of big thinkers that are saying that AI is transforming industries as we speak and will shift mindsets greatly, which I think has a true element, right? What
Yeah.
is I think more realistic is, like you mentioned, that there needs to be a process behind it, and maybe we will have that real change, but only down the road in a few years.
You also have to like consider the people who are saying that. What is their stake in it? Like, how would they win if that is like happening or would happen? How do obviously Sam Altman is hyping AI because his entire company is like the value of his company is based on people
The AI
thinking
hype.
AI is going to transform everything. So this is not a like good source for what AI can do. And I think that is true for many people, like completely hyping everything.
Yeah.
So, but sure, there are elements that can transform like large industries. I think we're seeing this with a lot of like design work already, where people are like, okay, just like simple design, I'm just gonna tell Figma AI to kind of do something, and it's probably not the greatest, and you probably still need designers, but you probably don't need as many because a lot of like simpler designs are just being done by AI. You know?
Opens up a whole new topic here, but
Yeah.
I think we're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. Just gonna do this the next time.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so as a summary, what would you recommend people who are interested in AI and want to make the best use for themselves?
Yeah, I think there are two parts. Play around with it, get a feeling for what it can do, what it can't do, kind of thing. So like experimentation. I think a lot of people have done that already. Kind of experimented with ChatGPT, for example.
Yeah.
And then if you're, in terms of business, if you want to like implement AI in your business, kind of look at your current problems. What are the processes that you're wanting to transform, automate, and then see where the hard parts are, like the actual problems, and then go back to the experiences of your experimentation. Say, okay, this might be something that could be worth looking into, and then having an open mind about it. Because I don't think if you don't use AI, you're still good. If the problem's solved, that's fine. Still better than using AI to not solve a problem. So yeah, I think that is my final answer. How about you? Like, what do you think? Like, what's your summary? What's your like 2 tips?
I just wanted to swear, saying, "God damn it!" I wanted to say the same thing, Orell.
I mean,
No. I have another one. Yeah, I think what is important is to stay stay in touch with the things that are happening in your niche. And yeah, technology develops, technology evolves. Yeah, and yeah, whether there's AI or something else, we all kind of like have to keep up with the trend. But viewing it with a critical lens is really important. But yeah, I think, and this is something where I feel a lot of people feel a little bit uh, anxious, is that things are developing very, very fast. And I would also say that this is true, not for the amount of the hype that is happening, but in comparison to how things were 20, 30 years ago, it is definitely a faster velocity. But it's also very interesting times. I definitely see there is yeah, tasks that are getting simpler and simpler with more tools and more involvement of technology or AI. Yeah, and that's why it's kind of cool to live in these times. Yeah, a few news sources on your niche are definitely helping out. But yeah, you don't have to believe everything that's out there.
Yeah, kind of network with people and tell people or talk to people about what they use it for. Then you get a feeling for what's possible and whatnot. And
yeah, who actually fell on their face already, right?
yeah, I mean, learning from mistakes of others. I mean, why not? You can also share what you tried and what maybe didn't work or what did work.
Yeah.
So there's no, I mean, obviously you don't tell them everything usually because there's some kind of like secretive part to like what you automated and what others automated and that kind of stuff. But at least in like the general sense, you should be able to get a feeling for what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I hope with that, we sparked a little bit inspiration and a bit of clarity for all the listeners and viewers. Thanks for coming, Orell. Well, I guess like thanks for both of us for coming.
Yeah, well, like last time, good use of my time, I think.
Yeah, same. I
Always
really
fun
enjoyed that
talking to
exchange.
you.
Yeah. Okay, share how you can connect with everybody, or how people can connect with you, maybe.
Easiest would be on LinkedIn. Just look me up. I think I'm also like linked with the event, and then send me a
Yeah.
message if you want to talk about it.
Also, you're gonna speak at an event in September. Which one is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be speaking at PyData Berlin in like beginning of September. I just got my talk accepted yesterday, so excited
Nice.
for that
Congrats
one.
on that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Meet him there, guys. Okay, so I guess that's it. Let's end the stream.
All right.